You are listening to The Art of Sales. Everyone sells every day, and this is your source for conversational, real-world sales and prospecting methods that you are comfortable using and that get results. You'll help people buy instead of pushing them into being sold. Here's your host, Art Sobczak.
So what do you think of when you hear the word scripts as it relates to professional sales? It's one of those emotional topics on LinkedIn that causes a lot of discussion every time somebody posts on it. And that actually was the impetus to do this show here today. Because, for a long time, something that really bugs me is when someone goes off on a rant and says, you should never use a script, which of course is flat out wrong. Now, if I stretch and I really try to understand where someone's coming from when they say that, I can kind of see their point of view, because really the problem is in their definition of what a script is. And that usually has more to do with the delivery, such as reading a script in a monotonous voice. Because really, if you think about it, anything anyone does naturally is a script. Think about that. Anything that you've internalized is something that you have prepared and perfected so that you can do it without even really thinking about it. And that's what a script really is. Let's look at a script like an actor does. And we want to deliver it in the same way. Otherwise, we're winging it. And generally, being unprepared usually gives what kind of results? Yeah, horrible results. So being unprepared kind of gives the result that someone fears when they are against a script, which is they don't want to sound like that person who's reading from a script, right? So it's really simple. If you can prepare for what you're going to say and then edit and practice and fine-tune it, why in the world wouldn't you? Hey, if you were going to write an article that would be very high profile for a trade publication in your industry, something that would really kind of make you a celebrity or a rock star and make you attractive to people and have people want to do business with you. Pretty important stuff. Would you just scratch out a rough draft and send it in? No, of course not. You would probably do an outline. You'd do a lot of research. You'd write it. You'd fine tune it. You'd go back and maybe scrap it and start all over again. And really, you would come out with something that was so tight, it would pretty much be perfect. Why? Because it was pretty important, right? Now, if you just jump on the phone or you go into a sales meeting and you say the first thing that comes to mind, what have you just turned in? Your rough draft. And that happens every day because salespeople just go blindly into calls and they puke all over themselves with the first words that come to mind. Put it in a different perspective. How about a surgeon? Walks into an operating room, slaps on the gloves and says, all right, give me the knife. Okay, what are we doing with this guy again? How about a lawyer goes into a trial, pops open his briefcase, begins an opening argument, turns and whispers to the client, what are we working on here again? Now, of course, in either case, those are absurd. But how about in sales? Well, it happens every day, right? When somebody does not use a script, or in other words, they're not prepared for what they're going to say at all the different points in the call process. So what I'm going to do right now is, let me just give you several different areas of sales situations. And I want you to think about, how prepared are you in each of these areas right now? Meaning, do you have a script so that you could instantly respond if you're hit with this situation? How about with assistants? And of course, we don't use the term screeners, but some people do. Could you instantly provide a response to the question, what's this in reference to? And I mean a good results-oriented answer, not one that gets you screened out. How about your opening statements and voicemails? Those most certainly need to be prepared word for word. And you can, because everything you say there does not rely on how they answer the phone, which most people do with some variation of hello, right? How about early resistance on a call? You probably heard this before. I'm not interested. Now, are you able to quickly handle that reflex response, resistance response, which, by the way, is not a real objection? So when you are able to handle that, you're able to engage somebody in a conversation and get them talking and then move them into a state of interest and curiosity. Now, we did an entire episode on that, and that was episode 19. So I suggest you go take a look at that one. How about unexpected answers to questions? Hey, we're all able to build some sales momentum when they answer questions the way we'd like them to, right? But how about the ones that we don't want? The ones that resemble maybe a hard drive crash with our computer wipes away all of our memory and we can't think of anything to say. I've been there before and it's not fun, right? How about real objections? I mean, many sales reps dread objections because they feel that in order to deal with them, they've got to overcome them with some canned argumentative answer. Now, of course, when you hear an objection, you're not really hearing the reason behind what somebody says. What you're hearing is just a smokescreen. So we've got to figure out, why did they just say what they did? And whatever you say at that point, normally it should be a question, that is a script. So in each of those areas, I recommend the same thing, and that's your preparation. Hey, there's no easy way to sound smooth. A sales rep told me at one of my recent training seminars, wow, you make it look so easy. You come up with these quick answers. How do you do it? Oh, I told him it was easy. I told him that after over 30 years and 1,500 sales training presentations and thousands of sales calls and thousands of hours of writing and reading and listening to calls and selling myself and practicing it, hey, it just came naturally. Come on, no one is naturally smooth, but almost everyone can sound that way. But we've got to be uncomfortable first. Before you golf in the 80s, you've got to go through the 90s. Hey, if you want to raise yourself to the next level, go back to the basics and then build from there. So here's an action step for you. Lock yourself in a room with a pad of paper, real paper and a pen, and begin writing out the topics or the headings, the situations that I just went through. Again, opening statements, answers to the assistant's question. What's this a reference to? Resistant reflex responses. Any other difficult situations that you encounter. And then what you want to do is just rack your brain until you create the word-for-word statements and responses and questions that you're comfortable with. Now, for help on that, go to the archives of this show. Go to my Smart Calling blog, smartcalling.com. You're going to see tons of examples and word-for-word messaging there. And then you can practice those and go to the next level. Just like a military strategist who's preparing for all possible scenarios, you want to brainstorm for all possible responses and keep repeating that process and practice it. Role play with a partner and recite it into a recorder. So the more you practice, the better you become, which means better results, which means you're also going to have more fun on your calls, which also means you're going to be more confident. And people will say about you, boy, he or she sounds smooth. And that is not a result of just winging it. That is a result of using a script like an actor uses a script, not like a telemarketer in a boiler room with 1,000 other people who's just reading something word for word. I think you get the idea. All right, you know what time it is, don't you?
You're at a B-I-N, every way you'll never feel what they say. It's the art of the sales quote of the day.
That's right. right, it's time for the quote of the day. And as I sometimes do, I quote myself because I am using a quote here today that is so appropriate and something I've probably repeated thousands of times, and it is this: the absolute worst time to think of what you're going to say is as it's leaving your mouth. That's right. Okay, so, hey, would you do a favor for a couple other colleagues? Let them know about this show. Send them to theartofsales.com, theartofsales.com. And if you do not yet have my ebook, no, actually, this is an actual book of my 7-step sales call process called How to Place the Successful Sales and Prospecting Call. I want to send it to you free. That's right. It's a 180-page Turn the Pages book, and you can get that at freesalesbook.com. We just ask that you help with the shipping, and that is for U.S. addresses. International friends, we have an option for you there as well. freesalesbook.com. All right. Thank you again for investing your time with me. I do appreciate it. Until next time, go out and make it your best sales day ever. I'm Art Sobczak.